everybody, it's Tiffany from Terra Loco, and we are here with Jeannie from the Women's Shelter, and we're going to learn a little bit more about the Women's Shelter and domestic violence. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and so we're going to kind of educate our audience a little bit in anticipation of your $5 5K on October 6th.
Yes.
Thank you. Date. So what is your role at the Women's Shelter?
Well, I am director of our youth program, and I do a lot of community education and work with our volunteers.
Okay, great. So you're kind of in the thick of it, and you're doing
am.
lots of outreach and,
Yes.
and community education and things like that. Okay. So let's just talk a little bit about like what the definition of domestic violence is, because I think people have in their mind this very specific, situation, but that's not always the case.
It isn't always the case. So domestic violence is defined as a pattern of abusive behavior used to gain and maintain power and control in an intimate relationship. And intimate relationships aren't only romantic relationships. It can also be college roommates sharing living space, or adult children living together as roommates. And so it can be those kind of relationships as well.
Okay, that's a good point. I don't think people probably would think that other types of relationships besides romantic relationships have that dynamic. So it's about the dynamic. It's about the power and control.
Yep.
Okay, got it. So, and domestic violence isn't necessarily just physical violence either. So
no, oftentimes it never becomes violent because a victim will leave before it gets to that point. And so there's a lot of jealousy, a lot of emotional abuse that takes place. Physical violence doesn't usually enter into the domestic violence relationship until it needs to. If power and control can be maintained using verbal abuse, emotional abuse, social media stalking, those kind of things, it doesn't need to become physical unless the victim is preparing to leave or something like that, and then it ups the ante.
And the most dangerous time for a woman or anyone really in a domestic violence relationship is when they are trying to leave.
Correct. The 6 weeks before a victim leaves, they're preparing. Maybe they're feeling a little more empowered, a little more brave, and they're getting ready to leave. They've maybe got a safety plan in place after working with an advocate, and they're making those steps. And the abuser and the victim are very tuned in to each other's behavior. And so the abuser can usually tell, oh, something's different here. And so that sparks a closer watch, a closer eye, maybe some new abuse tactics that hadn't been used before to keep that victim off balance so they can't make a step. And so when a victim is preparing, that's a dangerous time through the 6 weeks after they've left, because then the abusive person has lost control of that victim, and sometimes a panic sets in, and that's when we see some real violent behavior take place.
And I think in the last maybe 10, 15 years or so, there has been more awareness, and people have started to kind of understand the issue a little bit better. But there is still a lot of stigma around people who stay in those relationships. And I think people assume, people always say like, well, if my spouse ever hit me, I would be out the door in a minute. But it's not that simple.
It isn't that simple. A victim or someone who's being abused loves their person, but they don't love the behavior. And they're hopeful that the behavior will stop. And if they just try harder, do better, give more, be more, then the abuse will stop. But that isn't how it works, because the abusive partner is the one in control of all that. They're choosing the steps. And so leaving is not easy. In order for someone to walk away from their relationship, they may be walking away from their job, pulling kids out of school, relocating to another place. And most people don't have a bunch of money in a checking account available to them to be able to pick up and walk out the door.
Right, because financial abuse is also another part of that power and
that
control.
Yeah.
And pets and children are also another kind of part of that dynamic as well, too.
Definitely. Now, pet abuse is very common in domestic violence. It's another thing to hold a victim hostage. Like, if you leave, I'm going to kill your pet.
Yeah.
And so at the Women's Shelter and Support Center, we do offer pets to come along with victims as they're fleeing, so their pets will also be safe.
In Rochester, one of the places that somebody can go who's experiencing domestic violence or who can call and get some advice
Right.
is the Women's Shelter and Support Center. Tell me a little bit about what you do and like how you help victims.
Sure.
If I were to pick up the phone, like
Right.
what would happen?
Well, if you give us a call at our 24-hour crisis line, there will be an advocate there to answer that call, and they'll just say, hey, this is Jeannie. How can I help you? What's going on today? What's happening right now? Are you safe? And how can we help you become safe if you're not safe? So we kind of start there. If they're wanting to talk about, well, I'm thinking about leaving, then we would talk about creating that safety plan. Everybody's plan is different because their situations are different. And so the advocate will work one-on-one with that person to create a safety plan. Maybe they're interested in an order for protection or a harassment restraining order, and then the advocate can go over the guidelines for that and actually start that process right over the phone. If they're in a very volatile situation and they're in danger, we can help them get to shelter.
Okay, great. And if somebody is interested in volunteering, donating, maybe just learning a little bit more about what
Sure.
you do, like what would they do? Should they just like pick up the phone and call you?
Well, they can either give us a call or they can look on our website. We've got ways you can help. You click on that and it'll drop down and give you options for volunteering or for donating. All that's available right there on the website.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for talking with us
Yes,
today.
of course.
Anything else you want to share that we didn't touch on?
Well, we have some very exciting news.
Ooh, yes.
Yes, right? So we are in the process of building a brand new shelter here in
right.
Rochester. And everything is right on track. We just had an update meeting with the builders today, and everything is right on track, and we hope to be able to move in right at the first of the year.
Oh, that's fantastic. And that will, what will that do for
Well,
you?
currently, we are funded for 29 individuals in our shelter. Our new shelter will give us capacity for 75.
Wow.
So we'll more than double the amount of people that we can serve.
Nice. Okay, that's fantastic.
Yes.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much for talking with
Yes.
us today, and hopefully we will have a good turnout at your $5 5K. It'll be a great opportunity for you guys to come out, talk to Jeannie and some other
Yeah.
people, learn a little bit more about what the Women's Shelter does. Maybe sign up to volunteer with something.
That would be great.
Yeah. So we will see you guys on October. What did you say? 6th. We will see you guys on October 6th. All right. Bye, everybody.